Good morning, world. Stephanie here with today's episode of The Bloom. And today is Wild Wednesday, so we all have those undomesticated parts within us. And despite how modern society has contributed to a great disconnect from nature, both our own inner nature as well as the world outside of the system of the matrix, the world outside of the simulation, and how one way that we may get back in touch with our wild side is through animals, is through being outside in nature, spending time with animals, finding what feels right for us, getting in touch with our instinctual nature. We can also use astrology and tarot to help us get in touch with these parts of ourselves. And that, I believe, is an integral part of healing as far as loving the self goes, rekindling the relationship with one's own intuition, and then being able to take action from that place in a safe and balanced way. And so I have mentioned this before also, that I am in recovery from trauma, from complex PTSD over the course of many years, from different types of intimate partner, sexual violence, and other things that many people have gone through. And so I have a hard time talking about it because I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, and also because a lot of people have gone through similar things or worse things. And one of the stories that I remember about Jesus that I learned growing up, which again, I'm not trying to evangelize here, and I'm also at the crocodile here, playing with animal spirit cards, so you can take it however you like. That someone had once asked Jesus, how do you know how other people feel? How can you say that you empathize for them if you've never been in the same exact experience? And his response, and again, not quoting, and this is, thousands of year old story, that his response was that having that love and that empathy for someone else didn't have to come from a place of having that same exact experience, that it could come from similar experiences or similar feelings, and that we can connect on those threads, on those strings. And so however important it is to be able to connect and feel understood and heard and validated by people who understand and empathize and care about you, it also doesn't mean that people have to have the same exact experiences. And so one of the things that I do in my work is both help women and children to deal with the stressors of life, anxieties, depression, OCD, ADHD. And I've done this for a number of years, and currently am in the process again of just transitioning really into my full passions, my full powers, my full leading through the lens of love, both for myself and others. And this has been a challenging process and a great opportunity to dive deeper into self-love and self-knowledge, and to open up a whole new layer, a whole unread part of the story of my life that I was ignoring and neglecting. And that through my working on those parts of myself, having my own issues, having my own challenges, doesn't make me a bad person, nor does it make me unable to help others. In fact, it equips me with a whole different level of understanding. Now, I've heard a lot of people, especially women, talk about imposter syndrome, and it's something that I have chosen to not talk about because I was in denial of my own relationship with imposter syndrome. And I have always been a fairly high functioning person, very driven, very goal oriented in the world of both academics and the workplace. However, I've also had to struggle with my own grief, my own traumas, my own unhealthy, abusive relationship with alcohol, which will be a whole nother conversation for a series of videos. And, also unhealthy relationship dynamics and obsessive thinking, distorted magical thinking, while also balancing that with being someone who practices meditation and yoga and has had experiences, although not as many as other people necessarily. I've had experiences with entheogenics, with psychedelics, and being able to use those plant medicines and the non-plant medicines to also be able to heal myself or through these tools of the universe, of the earth. And it's been a bit of a challenge to be able to incorporate everything I've learned and everything that I believe has worked for me and have seen work for other people into a traditional clinical practice style. So Sacred Earth Essentials is my place to be able to integrate and weave together these multiple disciplines for your viewing pleasure and education. And if you're interested in booking services with me, I do private coaching, astrology chart readings, mixed with psychodynamic therapeutic brief intervention therapy sessions. And so I have an eclectic array of modalities that I use, and one of my favorite things is being able to cater to individuals based on who they are, what they want, and their needs and their interests. And that's part of being eclectic, is being able to pull from all these different sources and all these different modalities and schools of thought and healing practices. To connect with a person where they at and to do my best to empathize and to speak their language. So the crocodile, Wild Wednesday. This is about healing and empowering yourself through connecting with the archetypes associated with animals. So I realized in my last video that if I take the card and shove it up in your face here, you can't see what's on it. So thank you for bearing with me while I continue to refine and harmonize and bring you messages of love, encouragement, and something to think about. So the crocodile, it symbolizes opportunity, risk, fertility, life. And again, Wednesdays, Wild Wednesdays, is also ruled by Mercury, miércoles, and so communication, travel, those are some themes that are associated very basically with Mercury. And so when we're looking at these cards today, the intention is to be thinking about healing, getting in touch with your wild nature, communicating with that instinctual, natural part of yourself, as well as with the outside world, getting outside, really getting this theme today of getting outside. It's been freezing in Vermont the past couple days, weeks, and I am really loving this hot sun on my body, actually. So opportunity, risk, fertility, life. Alligators and crocodiles are creatures of the water, particularly found in fecund swampland, which suggests both fertility and the feminine principle of life and birth. They have often been associated with the dragons, which appear in myths and legends as wily guardians of treasures and keepers of wisdom. Stories that have revolved around encounters with these reptiles have often involved a new opportunity, but one that always carries significant risks, which I'm learning about that risk and trust management, both in the personal and financial sense. As with many mythological reptiles, the crocodile in this painting appears wise, menacing, and somewhat indolent. So maybe you have some communication happening in your love life that is, or you could apply it to work if you like. There's some communication in your life that is around opportunity, risk. It's a very fertile risk. It's full of life, but it's a little bit scary, and it's an ancient. It's just that ancient dinosaur dragon kind of energy, right? And it's not so mythical, when we remember that there are crocodiles and alligators in our world. And I think it's interesting that the card says the crocodile in this painting appears wise, menacing, and somewhat indolent. But I suppose when you are that powerful and that intelligent, that wise, that it may be easy to carry an air of pride or superiority or indolence along with you, depending on the situation and the person. And I'm sure that I'm guilty of that at times, that I can be scary, like an alligator creeping up on you, a crocodile, excuse me, and alligators and crocodiles. And so thinking about that, like this feeling of, you would be safe with a crocodile or an alligator if you're also a crocodile or an alligator. And so channeling that and remembering that animals aren't bad. Like they might have, like the snake often will get a bad rap, a bad association, bad rep. But in reality, the ancient symbolism of a snake throughout many cultures is that of healing. And even when you look at Kundalini, right? And so when you look at even the symbol on a ambulance, the symbol for medicine, it has that snake wrapped around it. And that's part of fear culture, and that's part of controlling people, is making them afraid to follow their heart and their instincts, making them doubt their knowledge, doubt their body. I have countless stories of times of going to doctors and expressing to them like, hey, this is what I think is going on, here's my symptoms, and the doctor being like, no, it couldn't be that, right? But we'll do the test anyway. And then it turns out that I was actually correct. And so knowledge is power, and tuning into your body and having feelings is power. And I have struggled with fear a lot in my life, including denial about that fear. And so I'm thinking like in the realm of communication, that's part of this channel for me, is like becoming that dragon, that crocodile, and taking the opportunity, taking the risk to create life from the fertile ground of your soul and your mind and your heart and your experiences, right? And embodying that ancient wisdom accurately and really, living the dream, walking your talk, and having faith in your knowledge. Like if you have things that you struggle with, like I've mentioned earlier, imposter syndrome or depression, anxiety, what a bitch, right? Excuse my language, but it is not the good kind, because bitch used to also mean goddess, by the way. So side note, I wander, I digress. ADHD and long-term recovery from the negative effects of PTSD and traumatic brain injury, right? And again, not complaining. I'm blessed. My life is wonderful, and it's getting better and better every day, all the time, as I tune into my strength and my truth, really, and remembering like who I am and how I feel when I'm not wrapped up in worrying about what other people think or what someone else says or what I learned growing up or what I learned like in past traumatic experiences, right? Like reassociating. I could associate a purple string with trauma, or I could associate a purple string with my crown, right? And perspective, is everything. And so if you can take a situation that on the outside looks really negative and still find that treasure hidden within, like that's dragons, mythologically. I'm not a dragon expert, but I'm pretty sure they like treasure, and I'm pretty sure they're good at finding it, keeping it, and guarding it. And so channeling your inner gator and getting that treasure, guarding the treasure of your heart, and learning when to share that treasure, and learning to kind of be indolent in this, like the crocodile, like take it or leave it. If you don't like it, it's not because I want to offend anyone ever, but we all need to be able to feel comfortable expressing ourselves in the way that feels natural to us. And in the process of that, what is that? Iron sharpens iron. We may come across other people who help polish us and who help refine and smooth out our edges. And then that's a part of being humble, right? And that's could be another animal totem for you. So the next wild card we have today is hawk. Oh, no, I'm wrong. It was the eagle. Yay, the eagle. I'm not really good at making an eagle sound, but symbolism, power, creation, illumination, exploration. Almost every culture that has had contact with eagles has imbued them with power and influence. Native American tribes worshipped the bird as the Great Spirit, the creator of all things. Eagle legends frequently involve journeys into dangerous or unknown territory. A Northwest Native American myth tells of the eagle setting out with the coyote to the land of the dead to retrieve the spirits of the deceased. Eagle feathers have thus been used as talismans by shamanic healers venturing into the netherworld, and they are given as rewards for individual feats of courage or bravery. So the eagle spirit is here with us today. The eagle spirit has been one of my totems, and in light of communication, I associate more and more with the eagle as time goes on. White eagle, for some reason, is coming to mind, and it symbolizes power, creation, illumination, exploration. So thinking about the places in your life where you are empowering yourself, and again, empowering your communication, being able to communicate about illumination and exploration and creation. And I can't help but think about the United States government when I think about the eagle. I also, think about the natives, and I think about like the animal spirit. I mean, does the eagle know? Does the eagle care what country? Does the eagle know it's on any flags? Like, the eagle's like, no, man, I just live in the world, and I'm a being in this world, and I love the earth, and I'm part of the whole, right? And so I think that we can learn from the eagle in that way, and remember that we're all connected, regardless of species, regardless of race, regardless of religious belief or not, regardless of the boundaries that governments put in place. And so connecting to each other on that higher plane, and remembering to have courage and bravery and integrity with what we are communicating. Also that flight, so that idea of going after your dreams, that idea of, again, not allowing doubt to get in the way, like using the crocodile, like to eat that doubt, man, eat that fear, get it out of the way, connect with your power. Both of these cards talk about power. And so again, connecting with your wild animal power when it comes to communication, while also remaining, float like a butterfly, transforming. So the communication realm of your life is transforming. It's transforming through this opportunity, this risk you're taking. You're empowering yourself. You're going after it like a dragon going after a treasure. And you're gonna create more with that treasure, whether literal or spiritual treasure. Or again, like land is treasure. My dad always said that was the most important thing, was the land. And so here we are, Sacred Earth Essentials, many moons later. And you're going to plant those seeds through your ferocity, your bravery, your wisdom, and even with a little bit of indolence maybe, to keep away the haters, I guess, because apparently they exist. Send love to you all anyways. And, being illuminated and being like, I can fly, right? And so enjoying that feeling. I've always wanted to feel that feeling of being like an eagle or something. And the butterfly, transformation, joy, lightness, rebirth. So through this ferocity and this wisdom, you fly. And then instead of it being this powerful, exploratory flying, it is now a transformation. You have transformed into joy, into lightness of being. There is a rebirth in your communication style, in those areas of your chart where Mercury is, in the areas of your chart that are involved in communication. And it's becoming, maybe before you were this caterpillar and everyone was like, what is going on around here? And now, hopefully, you're the butterfly and you are embodying the principle of physical and spiritual transformation. Excuse me, that's Yoda. And the butterfly lighting upon a flower is the very essence of joy, beauty, and freedom. The butterfly has been symbolic of the soul, early Christianity, and conjugal bliss, China, and change and joy in Native American culture. And again, those are generalized comments. It's not a dissertation. In early Minoan and Mycenaean cultures, the butterfly goddess was a key emblem, symbolizing new life after death. In this painting, the woman's face, emerging from the chrysalis-like womb, suggests transformation and rebirth. The upper face of the butterfly body resembles a Christian Madonna, which I just checked out Madonna randomly on Instagram this morning, hot as ever. Which, although this card is not referring to that Madonna. This card is referring to like Madonna, ancient Madonna, which reinforces the idea of spiritual birth and new life. So, right? So go ahead, be fierce. Connect with your fierce dragon nature. Get that treasure. Take that opportunity and the risk. There's fertility and life in it. You will be happy you did. The eagle. Call on the eagle to help get you there, After that crocodile gets those inner obstacles out of your way, you're flying like an eagle. You drop down and get your eagle on, girl, right? And then the butterfly, and then you're this butterfly, and you're this beautiful butterfly, and then, the people in your life are going to be like, oh, or whoa, or look at all that beauty and joy. All right, folks, thank you very much for your time. Would you like a plant card? We'll close off with the plant card. These were the animal totem cards. You got this, girl or boy or key or anything in between. And then we're going to top it off with a message from the beautiful Wild Medicine Herbal deck. So you get in touch with your animals. You get in touch with the plants. I have told this story. Some people know it. Some people don't. That in high school, I got to do this thing called the Oracle Academy, where Oracle paid the science teacher to do a training and then have a special class for people interested. So I did the Oracle Academy and learned about SQL, Java, HTML, database design, and all that fun stuff. And I said to myself, you know, I want to work with people. I'm going to go study psychology instead, because I want to learn about how to be healthy, how to, you know, end suffering and the causes of suffering, or at least ride through them, right? So here we are all these years later. I have little to no tech skills. And yeah, I'm reading you your tarot cards today. I took a beautiful walk this morning. I'm finally getting back into walking, which I think is really important. I'll be talking more about routines, and here to help you all get into routines, I am starting a women's self-care, self-love boot camp, and I'm limiting it to 10 women a month for starters, and it's a comprehensive self-care boot camp package where we work together to create healthy routines, healthy diets, healthy mindsets for you. And it includes an astrology chart reading and an herbal consultation, as well as a series of private sessions with me, group sessions with your group, as well as a private self-care support network that I am beginning. So it's in its beginning baby stages, and if you are interested in learning more, please feel free to check out sacredearthessentials.com. Marshmallow, which, who knew that originally mallows were actually from this plant. And marshmallow plant is a cough suppressant. So someone out there right now, they're, ¿cómo se dice lungs? ¿Cómo se dice lungs? Para respirar, el órgano a respirar. There's somebody out there right now que necesita marshmallow. No sé cómo decirlo en español, pero y no estoy dando consuelo como doctor. I'm not giving doctor medical advice. I'm just reading these tarot cards for you and saying that you might want to look this up and learn more. And so marshmallow root, Althea officinalis, it does grow here in Vermont and has beautiful flowers. And it was the roots that were used to originally make marshmallow. Plant description: can reach up to 7 feet in height, with erect stems and short stalked cordate leaves that are velvety on both sides. Flowers are silky, pale pink, and the root is white. So the roots are used, and what you do is you boil them down, and they would mix it with like sugar, and you would get, it's very mucilaginous, that you know, like a melted marshmallow, how it is on the inside, gooey. So it works, historically speaking, as a cough suppressant. So again, before you use it, consult with your primary care physician. It's traditionally used as a poultice for inflammation, a tea for sore throats, GI issues, or urinary tract infections. The mucilage constitute of this herb is widely known by herbalists and as an effective remedy for cold, cough, and respiratory issues. Cold infusion, tincture, syrup, poultice, or ingestion. And then a little bit of ritual or lore around it is that during the Spanish Inquisition, those about to undergo torture would paint their bodies with a concoction that included marshmallow sap to lessen the effects of the burns and hopefully prove their innocence. Wow, right? So, speaking of torture, not to like take this down a really sad road, but one of the things that I do really emphasize and talk about is human rights, as well as earth rights. And I've been studying a lot lately about some of the atrocities against humanity that are occurring throughout the world right now as we speak. And some of those atrocities occur in Mexico. But I just learned that, there's not all places in the world. There's still so many communities and so many places in the world where these horrific things are happening to people of all ages And, you know, I live in my bubble, my blessed little bubble up here in Vermont, and I'm aware of that privilege. And, you know, people still to this day are murdered for expressing truth if someone high up enough doesn't want them to express it. And I think that I looked up this quote the other day. It's the Martin Luther King Jr. quote that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And so that's my little caveat on marshmallow and using it to soothe wounds in your lungs and your throats, as well as on the outside of your skin. And that hopefully as we evolve consciously as a species, and maybe the world falling apart will help us be kinder to each other, we can realize that there's enough to go around, that the greed can stop. And I'm sure someone out there is like, you have no idea, Stephanie, you have no clue, right? But maybe I don't want to know, because if I knew, I wouldn't be saying what I'm saying right now. So I'm just going to throw that little piece in there for you all today about humbly being grateful for what you have and where you are, and remembering that there are still atrocities occurring in this very moment in other places in the world. And on that note, valerian to save the day. So valerian, some people say it smells like stinky socks. I think it smells like heavenly. Not stinky socks, valerian root. And it's a great insomnia aid. It also can be planted outside of your home to promote, on a spiritual level, peace and harmony in the home, as well as within your marriage, marital bliss. And it often has little white flowers on it. This particular card has pink ones. So after that little conversation there about, you know, human rights, you might want to go, if you have any, or talk to your healthcare provider again. Try some Valeriana officinalis. It works for me for sleep. Speaking of which, I should probably get some. And it's like, doesn't matter how much knowledge you have on any subject, if you're not applying it appropriately, and it doesn't work. And that's part of self-love, and that's part of healing and transforming into this beautiful butterfly that you're deeper, you know, maybe you've been caging up that animal inside you, that crocodile, just like rah, waiting to get out that dragon. The dragons are awakening. Your inner dragon is awakening and flying, you know, which if you combine these two, I'm sorry, I got to go back to this. What do you get, right? Dragon, you know, dragon spirit. A gentle, loving, beautiful one. Coming at ya. Valerian. Perennial that can grow up to 3 feet tall with divided pinnate leaves and small white pale pink flowers. The rhizomes, the roots, are the parts that are used. And historical medicinal uses, traditionally used as a calming sleep aid due to its light sedative properties. It's also recognized as useful plant medicine for treating anxiety and calming the nerves. So what would happen if you grew this and you made medicine, a product with it or whatever at home for your personal use, and you found that it was more effective with less side effects than any pharmaceutical sleep aid, either prescribed or over the counter, that you've ever tried? So is that the reason why we didn't learn about valerian growing up? Because I didn't. I mean, maybe some of you did, but I didn't learn about valerian. I didn't learn about plant medicine. And that's not a complaint. It's just a point of connection, because I know that there are so many people who grew up in the suburbs like me who are disconnected from nature, their own nature and the nature outside. And I know so many people, regardless of where they live, who've experienced trauma. And so connecting with our body, you know, you do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 1,000 miles repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body. Love what it loves. Despair yours, I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Or something like that. And so make the best of it, right? So we have these opportunities. It's like having a toolbox and just looking at it and being like, yeah, I know what those tools do, but they're not going to work for me. And I do that. And that's depression and low self-esteem talking, and, you know, a misguided use of your own life and natural beauty. And I only say that because I've been there, and sometimes I'm still there, and I'm still rising up out of it. And I use this platform to communicate to the world so that you can all get to know me more than just a picture that changes at least once a day. And so I'm working on it, you know. I'm aware of the things that I do that are not healthy, and I'm aware of some of the places I need to heal. Always open to learning more. But as I humble myself in that process, one of my goals is to allow other people to learn from that experience, just like many of the great writers and teachers have throughout the ages. Their experience is an essential aspect of their gift, which Chiron, we can look at Chiron, the wounded healer. So I'm getting it's time for me to shush, which again, Marshmallow is kind of telling me that. Valerian, so again, it's a popular herb in Samhain and Yuletide to celebrate rituals. In medieval Sweden, it was sometimes used in wedding celebrations by being placed in the clothing of the groom to ward off the envy of the elves. You know, that's a whole nother subject. So your wild self needs some soothing. So again, trauma and soothing the fear-based parts of yourself, and being able to then, you know, consider those wounds holy basil, right? And covering those wounds, internal or external, with soothing wild medicine. And so Tulsi, we've talked about Tulsi before. Shrubby plant that grows 3 feet high with green and purple leaves that grow in opposite directions. It has a long history. I'm not going to read from the card because I love holy basil. Oxymum teniflorum, that's just one type of basil. It's considered to be one of the queen of herbs in India, and is an excellent calming herb that's not sedative. And, you know, again, holy basil, you know, a sacred herb. It can be like a wedding blessing. You can plant some holy basil in your home as a symbol of love and bringing love into the home. And it is said that it is also an excellent herb for drinking, not just for a decongestant and respiratory ailments, but and for cancer, because of its high antioxidant properties. Again, ask your doctor. But I was told that it's also an herb that helps to flush out radiation from your body. So using these wild but delicate plants, do you see how something can be wild and small and powerful at the same time? So connecting with your inner beautiful bejeweled dragon, sorry, and you know, also the gentle power of the plants, because although she is little, she is fierce. Although she be but little, she is fierce. Shakespeare. So that is your Wild Wednesday message of love for the communications sector of your life today. Thank you very much for being here with me at Sacred Earth Essentials, where I believe the earth is sacred and you are too. So go in peace and be a blessing. Bye.